All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, today we have another episode of Hebrews in the Hood. And this is a special edition, special episode. Today, Mikha'EL Ben Israel, who is the founder of Walls of Jericho Biblical and Historical Studies, will be bringing Kashub, the historian, also known as Moreh Yeshaya, onto the show today. And they're going to be discussing some of this fake New Age science that's being pushed and presented by certain individuals and organizations in the community. It's going to be a powerful, powerful show. So I'm glad that people could tune in and join us. Depending on how the show goes, we'll probably have an open discussion at the end, maybe a question and answer segment. But for right now, Mikha'EL, shalom, shalom to you, Ak. Glad we could come together for another show. Kashub should be joining us here shortly, so please do what you have to do and get this information out to the mass audiences.
For sure. Shalom, shalom, my brother Basem. Grace and peace, man. Glad to be with you. Shalom to my Hebrews in the Hood audience. It's y'all one and only brother Mikha'EL Ben Israel. Love y'all. I'm glad to be able to. The Most High has given me breath another day to be able to speak. Today we did a special edition. You know, normally the show, the normal times are going to be normally Sundays 3:30 Eastern time, and Thursdays 3:30 Eastern time. But like I say again, put emphasis on today is a special edition. We'll have special editions every now and then, and they're kind of random, so it has to be something put on my spirit. I'd like to thank God for my director, Basem. He keep everything controlled behind the scenes. I'm your host, and today's guest is my brother, a professor at a college, a historian, and first and foremost, he is a true believer in the Most High God of Israel. He's one of my Israelite brothers by nationality, and the brother information has always been thorough since the day that I met him. And so when the brother came to me and said, man, you know, I really want to just drop a bomb on all of this mutating epidemic that's going on now in our community, the black community, if you want to call it, the conscious community, which I'm really getting tired of using that word because I use it real loosely. And I'll tell you why after, you know, a little bit later on. So with that being said, I said, yeah, okay, let's go ahead and do it when he told me what he wanted to talk about, because it was something that I've been noticing, and I've said little things about it myself. But first and foremost, I'd like to give all apologies to the Most High for not opening the door with him. I'd like to give all praises to the Elohim of Abram, Ishaq, and Yaakov, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, Jesus Christ, our Mashiach. I give all honor and glory to him. I thank him for being able to allow me the capability to be able to reach my brothers and sisters in our community and just share with them a little bit of wisdom and knowledge that he has bestowed upon me in my short days. Okay, today's topic is basically dealing with this new fake New Age science. And that's what I'm calling it, and I'm going to tell you, and we're going to explain why I'm saying it. And the first thing I would like to say, first of all, before I even complete the introduction, let me introduce my guest and let him greet, and then I'll continue with the introduction, and we'll bring him in later. Shalom to my brother, Moreh Kashub. How you doing, brother?
Hey, shalom. Can I be heard?
You're real low, brother. You need to turn something up.
Can I be heard?
We hear you, but you really low.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you. How does he sound to you? How does he sound to you, Basem?
I hear him, but the volume is real low. So if he can speak up or turn up his mic, whatever he can do is appreciated.
Yeah, you.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
All right. Well, giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yisrael. Thankful for the opportunity to the Most High to be able to speak upon this kind of matter. It's a controversial one, but it's not one that cannot be dealt with, such as life. Shalom.
Shalom. And I'm glad you was able to make it, man. You had me scared for a minute. You know, I know we was having technical difficulties over here. That's why we started so late. But you know, all glory to the Most High. If it's His will, we would definitely get it done. So, with that being said, let me jump straight off into this subject and tell y'all why we having it. I know when certain particular people hear this, they're gonna say, "Look at them. They're trying to set the black community back. They're anti-science." So I want to clear that up through the door. No one with common sense would be anti-science. Now, what I am is anti-pseudoscience, anti-fake New Age science. And what I mean by that is, if the black community is expected, as some have suggested, to move up in a social status as far as like on a scientific level or economic level or whatever level you want to talk about, specifically dealing with the scientific level, this is the thing. If you're going to keep regurgitating something that has already been established by people who have already been debunked by their peers and critiqued to the extreme, and not only that, but they had a known agenda connected to this science, then, like people like to say, science changes. This is what I hear a brother say. I won't say his name, but he loves to say the beautiful thing about science, it changes because you can correct it. But with y'all in that Bible, it stays the same. Well, actually, that's exactly the problem. Us, it's been stable for thousands of years. When the times change, our foundation stays the same, meaning there is nothing that supersedes the knowledge and understanding in our way of life, in our Bible, and our scriptures, because it comes from a divine creator who is time himself. He's time in himself. So why is it that we would keep making mistakes and have to change things when the Father of time has already dictated this thing? And we were blessed to possess these oracles that He given us that y'all trying to play catch up on. So by the time you correcting stuff, we already know the outcome. So and we gonna prove this on an intellectual level. So yeah, you know, so basically I'm seeing brothers in the community, and and let me make this clear. Everybody don't come from a camp, or everybody is not still in a camp, but I come from a camp. And there's time that we have gatherings, and it's probably 6,000 or 7,000 of us. Now, it would be illogical for you to think, as biased as you may be to the listening audience, if you are biased towards Hebrew Israelites or anybody who believes in some type of holy scriptures that have gathered, holy books that have gatherings together, like a congregation, a camp, mosque, whatever. But I'm specifically talking about the Hebrew Israelites. Let me tell you, you would be extremely illogical if you think like a camp, from the camp I come from, that size, where at a time you may have 6 to 7 to maybe even 8,000 people together for things like the Passover and things of that nature. And you mean to tell me out of all those people, you don't think we have genetic physicists? You don't think we have biochemists? You know what I mean? That's very illogical of you to think. And it's unrealistic. Matter of fact, I know some myself. With that being said, if these people but have the exact same faith and stance that I have, yet they know science better than you, then we got to figure out, why is it not a problem with science in itself, but it's a science with what you call fake pseudoscience? That's what I'm saying. And if you out here trying to tell the people, that the black people in particular, that they are a beautiful species, you have a prominent history, we're extremely intelligent, we ought to be thanked for a lot of the world's even modern creations, all the way back down to the ancient creations. You can't say that and then in the same breath demote them to something as silly as evolution, like an ape. Now, how you gonna go turn around and just say all these great things and then turn around and tell them these are ape? I said, put this picture up. Now, this is my question. I got this.
I'm just wondering, Ak, who is this?
Man, I was just about to ask you, if the black woman is God, like the brothers over there in the House of Conscience, or Amara Squad like to say, then who is this chick? Because from some of you brothers, not all, and y'all know who y'all are, that's steady pushing this evolution crap, how you gonna say out your mouth that the black woman is God, but then when you trace her origins, you find out this is where the black woman came from? Now, this is my problem. And then they try to say, no, it's the what they call it, the something monkey, the little, I can't think of the name, the rhesus monkey. So now they know they're in trouble, so they're trying to divide it up. So no, maybe we didn't come from monkeys. They just came from monkeys. Maybe we just came from fish that mutated into a donkey. So y'all got to answer that question. That sister who y'all say is one of y'all kin folks that we just put up there on that picture, if the black woman is God, then that make her a titan. That make her a super God. So every time you see an ape, you should bow down to it and pray to it. This is off y'all's stupid logic. And this is my problem. If you knew the simple origins, which most of them do, that's why I believe it's an agenda. If you knew the simple origin of like things of like Darwinism, and you just research Charles Darwin's life in itself and his surrounding peers at that time, and just pay attention to their mindset as it related to people like us, people of our creed, let's say Negroes, then you would understand one reason that evolution even came into existence. Yes, he also had a problem with the church and the divinity of the Pope and the Catholic Church and all of that, but he also was a known racist. As a matter of fact, I want to show you, but before I get into that, I just want to open up with that, but I'm going to show y'all in a few minutes why this is a real problem, and you can't be teaching our kids this nonsense. If you want to teach them to be scientists, which I'm all for because we need more of them, if you want to teach them to be scientists, then this is what you do. Since science is knowledge, and knowledge in itself is comparative studies, what you got to do is ditch all that old crap, that Euroscience that came from your quote-unquote oppressor, since you like to talk about this so much. You got to ditch that, get these chemists, these scientists, get these young minds together and have them come up with some real correcting science. You see what I'm saying? If you totally want to correct it, then you got to ditch all of the stuff that's not only pseudo, it's pure racist. I mean, it ain't no way to clean it up. That's the thing about it. You cannot clean it up whatsoever. Not in nobody's eyes. You're not going to do it to me. You can't fool me. I gave y'all a chance. I sat back and watched y'all the last couple months. And I'm like, okay, after a while, somebody just going to call this out. Like, man, this is some bull crap. We just trying to, we basically just trying to get it. We have an agenda, But since they don't hire the onions to say it, I'm going to go ahead and do it on Hebrews in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? Because we want our scientists to come up with cures for diseases, for all of this stuff that's going on in our community. Let's deal with them finding a cure for sickle cell, diabetes, high blood pressure. I mean, we have natural cures for that. But if this is something that we want to push, which is a good thing, the black folks need a scientific community of our own that can be trusted, then that science has to counter the fake, bogus, racist or origins of Euroscience. You can't take Euroscience and put a white face on it. And then it's funny how hypocritical these cats are, because that's the same thing they accuse of us of doing with the Bible. They would say, man, you got that white man book, so now you want to make all the prophets black. You want to make the nation of Israel black, and then you want to make Jesus Christ black, and so on and so forth. And then they turn around and do this. Now, we can go on a historical level and trace the Bible and have much evidence to support that these was our people by origins, blood, and race. But If you turn it around and go to things like Darwinism, you know what I'm saying? Evolution, adaptation, I don't really have a problem with, because you can separate adaptation from evolution for the simple fact there's forms of adaptation that even the Bible support. You see what I'm saying? Big Bang and all that silly stuff. If you're going to do that, then you have to deal with the reality of the fact that none of it came from Africa. Stop saying that. None of it. I've yet to see y'all produce any evidence that evolutionary theory, that a fish one day got on land, grew some feet, started walking, later on it turned into a Gila monster or a lizard. Before you know it, it's a donkey, and it went into a zebra, and now it's an ape. And now this same ape is working at a 7-Eleven, and it's a cashier, but it look a little pretty. I'm not trying to hear that. And you want to say we silly for believing that it's a God, a creator, who said, I create man in my image. Not only do I see evidence of that, see, that's what science is also. It's watching something, evidence. When you talk about evolution, you have to see it happen. Who has seen this transformation happen over millions of years? Where's this cat at? Because he got to have a good diet if he's still around here. 1. 2, when it comes to us, he tell us simple. I made you in my image. And then we got evidence of that. You know why? I can see a man right now go get a woman. This woman came from the same species as this man did. They can get together, have a baby, and create another little one that look just like them. That's God. That's what he said. Now, what make more sense? That or a fish put on some shoes, start walking, he start swinging from trees, and now he around here working on cars. And you want to call us religiotards? Come on, man. I'm starting to think y'all are too intelligent to try to push this crap on your people. So it has to be an agenda. I'm not a super conspiracy theorist. I know most of you brothers come from the same background I come from. You know, you just read some books. Some of you got PhDs. All power to that. That's what you're supposed to do. Be productive in this world and this society. And you said, you know what? I'm going to start educating people. I believe that about a lot of the brothers. But some of y'all, come on, man. You just come out the blue with some straight foolishness and think we supposed to believe it. Okay, but let me continue, because I'm going to make sure we get to our guest in time. But I just got to blow some of this steam off. I'm blowing it off in a good way, though, baby. It's going to come with knowledge. Stuff that you can let your common sense kick in. You know, yeah, I think they say your average man got about 18 to 22 billion brain cells. At least let 800 of them work right now. So let me see something. Just to show you how not anti-science I am, or the Bible, or the Israelites, I want to open up with something to show you the difference between us and the difference between y'all. You new age, atheists, agnostic, whatever y'all want to be. Scientists. Basically, y'all the teacher's pet. And we know who the teacher is. If it ain't the Most High and it ain't a black man, we know who the teacher is. So I want to go to Proverbs. If y'all don't like Bible scriptures, you might as well click off YouTube now. But I ain't about to beat you up with Bible scriptures. We about to come with history of these sciences, pseudoscience. We about to come with the history of this, the background of it, and we want to show the people we're going to expose what they trying to mingle into y'all life. And before you know it, 3 generations from now, your kids going to be around here so messed up in the head because they're going to believe, hey, you know, it ain't no big thing to sleep with an ape. It ain't no big thing to sleep with a dog. It ain't no big thing to sleep with a deer or a sheep. Because you know what? We all got a common ancestor. We came from the same thing. That's why, if y'all ever research history, not being racist, but I'm just telling the truth, that's why the Greeks, if you go study Greece with all them, some of them first scientists of Europe, they didn't have too much of a problem with bestiality because they figured we all came from the same thing anyway, some shape, form, or fashion. Huh, yeah, that's some real black power for you, ain't it? But let me read this real quick. Proverbs, I want to read Proverbs chapter 2 and verse 6. Proverbs 2 and verse 6. It say, for the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. So I can read 1,000 books, in which I do. I don't claim to be the master of none, but I'm a jack of many. And when all that's said and done, if I don't realize that the source, or the one who keeps me alive, who keeps oxygen, you know what I'm saying, flowing through my body and through my lungs and through my blood vessels and through my brain, the one who wake me up every morning, put me to sleep every night. If I don't acknowledge him, then it's useless. For the simple fact, I can wake up tomorrow with Alzheimer's disease. You could wake up with dementia. It would never dawn on you how that just happened. Oh, well, scientifically, you know, it was a tink in his genetics at an early age, you know. No, man, God did it. Call it spookism all you want to, but that's who gonna do it to you, because you got puffed up, think you're smart, and now you out here. If you want to think you intelligent and lie to yourself with these fake sciences, that's cool. But don't teach it to the babies. Come on now. Stop it. And then they keep asking why the Hebrews ain't come to the evolutionary conference. I see why. That would have been a pure debauchery. And all they would have did was try to attack the Bible. And for instance, and first of all, why in the hell do y'all pick this time to want to talk about evolution? Like, seriously, that's how I know it's an agenda to it. If y'all go research right now, the fastest growing belief, as they call it, but it's really Negroes waking up, is the Hebrew Israelite in America. It ain't chemic science. It's the Hebrew Israelite. So somebody been trying to throw a wrench in that, and it ain't gonna happen. And that's why the Hebrews don't lose debates. Y'all can stop trying to take credit for that Kemet on trial thing. That was just a debauchery. I say ain't nobody win, because it was just terrible. It looked like a nigga coon setup. Like, I'm just keeping it real. It looked like a straight nigga coon setup, and that's bad. By default, y'all got to try to pick a default win. What happened to the 3 debates before that? Y'all admitted y'all got beat up. Yeah, got quiet. So now they trying to take claim a win for the evolutionary conference when it wasn't no Hebrews there. How can you win if somebody ain't even show up? So who you beat? The thought of them? Foolishness. But anyway, I don't want to turn it to a preach on y'all. So I'm going to go to this other spot real quick. I'm going to go to... if y'all got y'all scriptures, those who believe in it, go to Ecclesiastes. I like to go to Solomon, man, because this is my ancestor, and ain't none of y'all got a tinkle of knowledge on this cat here. And it's thousands of years later. Einstein ain't had nothing on this cat, and Einstein believed in God though, so I get that to him. Go look at his look up his conference he had, his speech he had with the professor at the university. When the professor asked him how could he say it's a God, man, he made the man look stupid. So the people that y'all like to study and run up under had enough sense to believe in God, but you don't. You'd rather believe in a monkey. That's crazy. Okay, let me go to Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 6. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. This is what it says. I said in my heart, go to now, I will prove thee with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure, and behold this also in vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad of mirth. What doeth it? I sought in my heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquaint my heart with wisdom, and to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was the good for the sons of men, which they should do under the heaven all the days of their life. It say, oh man, I think I'm in the wrong spot. I done got beside myself. Let me see, Ecclesiastes. Oh well, anyway, don't worry about it. Like, I definitely think I done got ahead of myself because I'm reading about something else. But don't worry about it. Anyway, I was going to read something about wisdom. I'll find it later. But that's basically the key. It's just talking about God give us wisdom and God give us knowledge. So that's my whole point. If you don't believe that, that's cool and all. I ain't tripping off of you. But what I got to say is you got to just use common sense, man. Even if you're an atheist, use common sense. Would you believe that people produce people? Or you want to believe a species that you are 1,000 times more intelligent than produced you? Makes absolutely no sense. Okay, I want to touch on something else real quick. I want to go to, just to prove my point on science, I want to go to, let's go to Daniel. If y'all got y'all scriptures, go to Daniel. I want to go to Daniel chapter 1, right? We're going to go to Daniel chapter 1. Because they got a thing of thinking that we just some biblical robots and we don't study science, history, nothing. Well, they know we study history. We have to, because that's our whole thing is talking about history. Because then they get to say, why don't you get out the past and go to the future? So which one is it? Either we don't study or we love it too much. I have no idea. They confused. Okay, so I'm going to go to Daniel chapter 1, and I'm going to read verse 3 and 4. Listen to this, right? Show you this what the Israelites was known for. And the king spake unto Aspenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. Now listen to this. These are children of Israel. Listen to what this king called for. He said, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science. Let me say that again. And understanding science. Okay. And such as had an ability to them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. So these was Israelites during a captivity. And the king was like, man, go get them Israelites, man. Bring me the best one. And one of the ones he brought was the Israelite scientists. Yes, we had scientists. The only difference between us and them, we don't give credit to the science because it's just figuring stuff out and studying stuff. We give the credit to the one who gave us the ability to study. That's why we got an advantage. And like I say, I know some scientists in my camp. So let me read one more. I want to go to 1 Timothy. Go to 1 Timothy. I want to go to 1 Timothy, and I want to read this. This is the science that I'm bumming on right now. What I'm about to read right now, this is what I'm anti. And this is what's going on around here in the so-called con us community. Okay, 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 6. And I'm about to read one real swift one. 1 Timothy chapter 6. And I'm going to read verse 20 and verse 21. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, and oppositions of science falsely so called, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be with thee. Amen. Y'all hear that? It's a lot of this false so-called science running around here that's trying to be in opposition with the truth. And it calls them to err. And that's how you get some grown-up human being man with a big beard walking around here talking about he used to be a catfish at one time. And you take him serious. If that ain't erred, I don't know what is. Oh, boy. Okay, I got two little things I want to bring up, and I'm going to let the Moreh Yeshaya get it in as only he can do. The reason I read that about this fake science is because this is where it gets serious. And this is what I fear, and this is why it will not happen on my watch. You will not be able to say out your mouth, see, Negroes like this setting us back. They don't want us to move up with the Europeans and the Asians and all in the scientific community. Yes, I do. I want us to elevate past them. But the only way you can do that is truth, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Y'all have no understanding. You lack understanding. Yes, you can read books. Yes, your literacy level is good. But you have no understanding because you have no discernment. You have absolutely no discernment if you can be duped this easy. I've read damn near every book of every title of particular subjects. Do that mean I believe them all? No. They're just information. Okay, so I want you to put to my director and co-host, Brother Basim. If you there, brother, could you please, my beloved brother, bring up that, yes, there you go. Now I want the audience to really take a look at what I'm about to read, and I'm going to show you why this is dangerous. This is the garbage that some of these brothers running around here that's supposed to be super intellects are trying to paint a black face on. I'm going to read this to you. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a lot. But when y'all get a chance, you can this is called, right, it's by Edwin Black.
For the people's edification and educational purposes. This is an article from George Mason University, the History News Network. It's called The Horrifying American Root of Nazi Eugenics. Please take it over.
For sure. Thank you so much. Yes, for scholarship purposes, because you know it's a lot of cats just making stuff up. But Edwin Black is the author of this, and I want y'all to listen to what he says. It says, pull it down a little bit. I want to get it from the beginning. Okay, is that the beginning? Okay, here we go. Okay, it says Hitler and his henchmen victimized an entire continent and exterminated millions in his quest for so-called master race. But the concept of a white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed master Nordic race didn't originate with Hitler. The idea was created in the United States and cultivated in California decades before Hitler came to power. California eugenicists play an important, although little-known role in the American eugenics movement campaign for ethnic cleansing. Now, if y'all don't know anything about this, eugenics is where you get your abortion clinics from. Eugenics is where you get Margaret Thatcher and the Planned Parenthood, which is not a coincidence that 80% of the abortion clinics are in the African American community. This is a fact. 80%. So this people in this source was specifically made to eradicate black folks. Let me continue. Eugenics was the racist pseudoscience. I want y'all to keep that in y'all mind because people like to throw that word around. So start comparing some of this research and then look at what they say out their mouth and see who the real pseudoscientists are. So as again, eugenics was the racist pseudoscience determined to wipe away all human beings deemed unfit, preserving only those who conformed to a Nordic stereotype. Elements of the philosophy were enshrined as national policy by forced sterilization and segregation laws, as well as marriage restrictions enacted in 27 states in 1909. California became the third state to adopt such laws. Ultimately, eugenics practitioners coercively sterilized some 60,000 Americans, barred marriage of thousands, forcibly segregated thousands in colonies, and persecuted untold numbers in ways we are just learning. Before World War II, nearly half of the coercive sterilizations were done in California. And even after the war, the state accounted for a third of all surgeries. California was considered an epicenter of the American eugenics movement during the 20th century's first decades. California eugenicists included potent but little-known race scientists, such as Army Veneral, disease specialist Dr. Paul, let me see, it's moving, I'm trying to keep up. Where it said, Paul Gosney, Sacramento banker, Charles M. Goff, as well as members of the California State Board of Charities and Corrections and the University of California Board of Regents. Okay, I don't want to read all that. I got a specific spot I want to go to. Race theory, then fakes was blah, blah, blah. Stanford President's University, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me go down. In 1904, the Carnegie Institution, let me see, wait till he stopped. Carnegie Institution established a laboratory complex at Cold Spring Harbor on Long Island and stockpiled millions of index cards and ordinary Americans. As researchers carefully plotted the removal of families, bloodlines, and whole peoples from Cold Spring Harbor, eugenics advocates agitated and the legislature of America, as well as the nation's social service agencies and associations. So as y'all see, this was not just some little thing, but it was kind of swept under the rug, but this thing was going on and it was a literal movement to protect particular groups of people. Now, ultimately, it started with a couple of little groups, but it winded up focusing directly on somebody who was not doing any more work for them. So they was basically parasites and they had to get rid of them, and just disease them and stuff like that wouldn't work. So they had to find a way to make them kill themselves. Now, the reason I'm reading all of this, I got one more spot I'm going to read on this same article, so hold it right here. The reason I'm reading all of this, because you have to ask yourself, a mission with this much determination to it had to have some type of backing or some type of evidence that they felt would lend credence or give them an excuse to carry this out. Oh, that's coming. Trust me. I'm going to show you what one of them was. Let me see. Let's go to go down a little bit more, about Sam. I'm going to get straight to the meat. Go down a little further. Okay, let me see. Stop. Let me see Eugenics chart. Oh, bam. Here we go. Oh, it's about to get real interesting, y'all. Remember this, all you evolutionists. Eugenics was born as a scientific curiosity in the Victorian age in 1863. Sir Francis Galton, a cousin of Charles Darwin. Hold up, stop right there. This cannot be a coincidence. You mean to tell me the father of evolution? Yeah, highlight that, bro. You mean to tell me the father of evolution, who told us that we all evolved from an inferior creature that crawls around on all fours or swings from trees, just happened to have a cousin who was linked up with the extermination of these same people that are our ancestors over here? Hold on. Let's just continue reading. I don't want to just jump off to conclusions. Theorized that if talented people only marry other talented people, the result would be measurably better offspring. So y'all pay attention to that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, you know, that's science. You know, that's you know, survival of the fittest. At the turn of the last century, Galton's ideas were imported into the United States, just as Gregor Mendel's principles of heredity were rediscovered. I need to look that up too. American eugenic advocates believe with religious fervor that the same Mendelian concepts determining the color and size of peas, corn, and cattle also govern the social and intellectual character of man. Now, I hope y'all really pay attention to what y'all read. And remember what I'm saying, y'all. Don't just take my word for it. When y'all hear these brothers opening up, saying they for you, and then they get to telling you stuff like you see earlier, y'all saw, so according to Darwin, and if you link it to what some of these brothers saying, if the black woman is God, y'all saw a picture of her when I posted her earlier, the ape. Now, this ain't me saying it. This is some of the stuff you put all together to what these people be saying. It's sounding real similar, ain't it? Okay, now watch this. I got one more spot I want to hit right here. Movement. Okay, cool. Bring that up, move that up. That last paragraph, the superior species. Pull that up to the top for me, Sam. Pull it all the way up to the top. Okay, cool. Here we go. The superior species the eugenics movement sought was populated not merely by tall, strong, talented people. Eugenicists craved blonde, blue-eyed Nordic types. This group alone, they believe, was fit to inherit the earth. In the process, the movement intended to subtract emancipated Negroes. Hold up. Y'all see who the first one on the list? This the first one that the people who came up with the evolutionary theory and we evolved from monkeys wanted to get rid of. Let me read that again. In the process, the movement intended to subtract emancipated Negroes. So when you hear people teaching this, whether they know it, but subconsciously, they are teaching an elimination of niggas. I'm just going to flat out say it. Anybody want to get on there and call me out? Y'all know me. One of the cats that mainly pushed this used to run for me every time I jumped on a hangout with him. And you know who I'm talking to, brother. I love you because you my brother, but stop playing games because there's too many people that listen to you. And y'all gonna stop ducking this real stuff that's about to come y'all way. All right, let me read the other groups just to be fair. Because like I say, it started with a lot of groups. They just want to focus on blonde hair, blue eyes. After a while, they're like, yeah, well, you know, we ain't gonna trip off all of them. We could work with them. But these niggas, we got to make abortion clinics. So watch this. Immigrant Asian laborers, Indians, that ain't no coincidence. Hispanics, that ain't either. East European Jews, dark-haired hill folk, whatever that is, poor people, the infirm, and really anyone classified outside the gentrified genetic lines drawn up by American raceologists. Now, I hope y'all paying attention to this. I hope that is really putting a seed in your brain. Throw some water on it and let it grow. And don't let these Negroes pull the wool over your eyes. I got one more. I thought that was my last one, but it was something at the end. Well, you know what? I think that's sufficient for right now. So I want to go to this one last spot, and I hope my brother Moray, I see his line keep dropping, but that happens sometimes if you got a bad connection. So that brother got some super heat. See, this right here just a teaser. You know what I'm saying? He got some super heat. So I hope he be able to, you know, stay on the line long enough to get his message across, because I don't want to cheat the people that got to hear what this brother finna bring. Okay, the next thing. Now, the reason I have my brother pull that up for me, right? I want everybody to follow me. The reason I had him bring that up was because, like I said, if they had this plan, which is still going on today, because Planned Parenthoods are all in the black neighborhood. Go right now. I want y'all to drive through the white neighborhood. Find me an abortion clinic. You can find them. If it's a majority white state, a majority white town, you might find one here and there. Now, do that same thing when you get a chance, when you got some gas money, and ride through the black, quote unquote, black neighborhood. Watch how many of them you see. It's disproportionately 7-1. And these are real facts. Go look them up. And that's because you just read who it was created for. Originally, it was created for the Negroes. It had other groups on there, but I can show you if y'all go pull up that same same article, all you have to do is continue reading, and it lets you know that it mutated and other groups joined onto this movement, and the last one was left was the Negroes and handicapped people. I promise you. That was the only ones they didn't want breeding. So they came to agreement like, well, let's just get rid of the nigga. Okay, so I want to show y'all what gave them even credence to do such a thing like this. Hey, brother, would you pull up that was it I think it was History News, was it History News Network? Is that the one we haven't pulled up yet?
Yes, this is the Charles Darwin's Racist Framing, Mikha'EL.
There we go. Thank you so much, brother. Give him a background on that. Who's the author? Where it's from?
This is from a website called Racist Review, and the author of the blog is at the bottom of the page. But for right now, go ahead and read what you got to do, brother.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, this is Charles Darwin's Racist Framing. It's the article. So, of course, everybody can have their own outlook on it, but this is just somebody researching on it. So let's look at it. For some time now, there has been new attention to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, including the controversy generated by conservative religious groups who reject his theory and the extensive scientific evidence supporting much of it. Darwin is often listed as one of the 10 most influential thinkings in Western history. A parochial listing as the list makers leave out the rest of the world, and probably deserves the designation. There is much use of the concept of evolution. My fault. I can't see the little parentheses and all that stuff and marks. Okay, I don't want to make it. I think I'm super illiterate. There is much use of the concept of evolution too these days, and even a type of discipline called evolutionary psychology. Y'all keep that in y'all mind. Evolutionary psychology. Now watch this. Religion and evolution get the attention most of the time when Darwin is publicly debated, but his racial views are also getting a little attention as well. They should get much more attention. To his credit, Charles Darwin was opposed to slavery. Ooh, yeah, that was good. Thank you, Charles. And this got him into trouble a few times, but he shared many of the anti-equality racist views of his day. Pull it up some more. Okay.
The independent Maricon notes the shift in thinking during Darwin's life about the monogenetic origin of humanity. When Charles Darwin entered the world 200 years ago, there was one clear and simple answer to the slave's question. All men and brothers, because all were descended from Adam. By the time Darwin had reached adulthood, however, opinions around him were growing more equivalent. Y'all know what I'm saying. Equivalent. Don't worry about it. During his vision-shaping voyage on the Beagle, he was able to consult an encyclopedia which arranged humankind into the 15 separate species, each of a separate origin. So I believe it was 15 different separate species, and you know the origins of these different various species, right? So we're gonna continue. It's a reviewing a new book by Adrian Desmond and James Moore. Darwin's Sacred Cause summarizes this. This is a summary. Listen, evolutionary thinking enabled Darwin to rescue the idea of human unity, taking it over from a religion that no longer provided it with an adequate support, and put the idea of common descent on a rational foundation. However, as he aged and as attitudes to race became harsher, sympathies for Black people in the Americas more scant, and the fate of savages a matter of indifference. Darwin's own sympathies were is that blunted? I can't see it because it's kind of small on my screen. Well, anyway, was blunted by the prevailing fatalism. Now let's read that over. If you look at it, they straight out telling us Darwin basically, he might have been a little racist. He didn't believe in slavery. He didn't care for Negroes, but his racism grew to the point where basically it was partially influenced with his connection or his connection or his communication with people from the Americas. So basically he just became like them. He didn't like niggas. He felt we were subspecies. But let me continue. I ain't gonna put words in his mouth. It say, as he got older, especially in his famous The Descent of Man, which is one of his more famous books, Darwin fell in line with much of the racist thinking of his day, and even developed an early version, the perspective later called social Darwinism. Now, please, people, go look up social Darwinism. If you look up social Darwinism, you're gonna really feel bad to find out what level you on, according to this. Basically, what social scale you fit in as a Negro. So this is all where this evolution stuff come from, though. Okay, I got a little bit more to read, and then I'm gonna hope that Morey Yeshaya will be able to come in with his heat. Or if not, I know we got some people sitting there, because I ain't gonna let this show die. We gonna get every bit of this 2 hours up out of this. Okay, it says let me see. Okay, at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world. Hold on, y'all. Who do y'all think these savage races is? Y'all really, come on, y'all. Let's be real now. We already heard what he felt and who they put the focus in on. So let me read that again in case you can't see it on your screen. At some future period, this is a quote, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world. At the same time, the anthropomorphous apes will no doubt be exterminated. Damn, anthropomorphous apes will no doubt be exterminated. The break between man and his nearest allies will then be wider, for it will intervene between man and a more civilized state. As we may hope, even then, the Caucasian and some ape as low as a baboon instead of a, oh my God, instead of as now between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla. Now, I hope y'all hear this. I hope y'all see this. This is the daddy of the evolutionary theory. Let me read that one more time before you move, Basim. Stop right there. I got to just say that part again. It says about the anthropomorphous apes will no doubt be exterminated. Just so y'all make clear who he's talking about. The break between man and his nearest allies will then be wider, for it will be intervened between man and a more civilized state. As we may hope, even Caucasian, and some ape as low as a baboon, instead of as now between. They're talking about the Aboriginals. The Aborigines people you see over there, those black people with the curly hair, the wide nose, and the big lips that live in the bush. They also live in cities now. They're not all in the desert. They saying us and them basically is on the same level as a gorilla and a baboon. So when you hear a brother teaching to you, telling you to drop that damn Bible, because that's how they like to say it, right? And they tell you to drop that Bible, that white man's book, as they say it, and tell you to pick up the science of evolution. Now you see what they're really saying to you. When that Bible is a book written by us, to us, and for us, that teach us that we come from gods, Psalms 83, you are gods, but you shall die like men, that tell us we are, the nation of Israel is the son of God, we come from God, we're supposed to live like God, he give us laws to separate us from the savages and return back to him and soon become God again. This is what the Bible teaches, as opposed to what you just read from these racist people who created abortion clinics to abort babies. It has been more black babies aborted. I think I seen the study a while, some years back. I think they said since 1970 something, it's been more black babies aborted than all the wars combined. I think it was the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and World War II, something like that. But it was ridiculous. It's been more black babies killed in abortion clinics than went to war and died. So you know what they tell you? They not only got an agenda to where they killing our women through their vagina in the womb, they killing the babies, in our woman's womb. Not only do they got us on that front, now we got Negroes pushing the agenda of a social murder, a social suicide, where they have made your mind digress down to the level of a wild beast. Wow. So with that being said, I'd like to say shalom, shalom. Your brother, Mikha'EL, about to turn it over to my aunt. Go ahead, Moray Shire. Whoo!
Shalom. Can I be heard?
You got to turn it up.
But it's the volume's a little low.
Right. But I'm trying to say, can I be heard at all? Because I had problems.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's real low. It sounds like you whisper.
Is it any better now? Hello?
Yes, it's better. And Mikha'EL, if you can mute your mic while he speaks, it'll be louder.
Okay.
Hello? Brother, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
All right. First and foremost, giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. The brother Mikha'EL, from what I understand and from what I was able to hear, was able to go in and pretty well with certain things. Darwin was a person born in the 19th century. Very important because he was a British guy. Now, this is not to sound like racist or anything of that sort. You know, he stated that the process of evolution can be evidently seen. And what he meant by evolution as the brother stated earlier, is different than adaptation. Adaptation is I go to another place and eventually my body gets used to that climate.
Mikha'EL, you're gonna have to pick it up.
He dropped off. His connection is real bad, and I can barely hear him. I don't know if the audience can hear him, but I could barely hear him. It's real low, and that's a shame because I really want y'all to hear this heat he get. Cause that what I just did wasn't nothing. That was just a little warm up. You know, I got a lot of other stuff, but I didn't bring all of that because I really wanted him to take over the rest of the show at a certain time and close us, you know, take us all the way to the closing point. But let me see. While we waiting on Ock to try to get back on, I got something else I want you to pull up, brother. When you get a chance, I want you to pull up. It probably won't take you but a hot second. It's called Eugenics Are Alive and Well in America Today. See if you can find it. I meant to send it to you earlier. Eugenics Are Alive. Matter of fact, it's specifically, I'll pull it up for you. It's Eugenics Are Alive and Well in the United States. It's in Time Magazine. You should be able to see it. It's an article in Time Magazine because it kind of go hand in hand with what we was just saying, just to let people know. Because if you understand that about 75% of the penitentiary population is
we hear you. We all hear you, Moray.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I think when y'all pull up stuff on the computer, it knocks me off, man.
Oh, so that's what it is.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it is. When y'all pull up articles or whatever, it seems to knock me off.
Oh, so you saying when we pull up, well, we don't got to pull this article up. I told them where to get it from. So when y'all get a chance, just pull up Eugenics Are Alive in the United States Today. It's a Timeline magazine article. And y'all see it, and it's going to shock you. It's talking about how they was sterilizing women and killing their babies in the
penitentiary. I'll give the reference towards the end of the show and include the link to it in the description box. But let's let Kashub, the historian, pick up where he left. He's a powerful and knowledgeable brother.
Cain, once again, giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. Charles Darwin, as we were speaking on, stated that evolution can be seen over the process of time. But when you ask the people who speak in reference with that, they say, okay, give me a year or give me a timeline. They say anywhere from 500,000 to X amount of millions of years. That means that it's not observed. That means it is a guesstimate or an hypothesis.
Yeah, he dropped off again. He'll jump back in, Mikha'EL.
Okay. Well, it's unfortunate. You know, these things happen when you're dealing with you know, this internet. Like I say, this science can be flawed. You know what I mean? But now I understand when I used to look at other people programs on Hangout Live, I'd be getting frustrated when the stuff was kicking us all going in and out. Hey, it happens, y'all. So I apologize to everybody I ever cussed out because I thought they just had a crappy connection. No, it happens. But hey, that's what we are. We improvise, man, like the Marines, baby. The men of the Lord improvise.
Yeah, he'll be back in any second now. There he is, right there.
Okay, cool. Let him continue.
Moray Yeshaya, please continue, brother.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is happening is anything done with the computer, I don't know, seems to be just kicking my butt out. But okay, basically, what the guy was saying in his hypothesis is that you can have a dog to become a cat, but yet that has never been seen. So therefore, since it's not seen, that means you're giving a guess upon it. Do you realize that a scientific fact and a fact is two different things? Because the legal definition of science is experimental investigation. That means that you're running things based upon an experiment and investigating the results of it. So therefore, the whole thing to a great extent is
basically saying you are making a big guess concerning that matter. Now, when you have a knowledge upon something, that means you know upon it. That means you can rely upon that. Once it comes to science, their thing is not even to gain knowledge in many cases, and we're talking about the pseudo aspect. Their thing is to go against the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. For instance, the Most High said, Zakar Nekweba, male and female. Their science can tell you, oh, we can make, seems how we're speaking on Hebrews in the Hood, oh, they create a thing that was made for one thing, transform the KY jelly to say a man can sleep with a man. These are things that's not made to be holy. So the science that this world is involved in is a science that's against the laws of the Most High. You understand? Where they will sit there and tell you that you was born gay. How in the world can you have been born gay when you are born with Most High willing 10 toes, 10 fingers, breathing, and bloody, and then have to be cleaned off? How are you able to tell the gender of that child from then? Just as much as you had that lady that the brother spoke about, Marriott Singer, and what she attempted to do and what she wanted to do and so forth and so on to try to eradicate, that's the same thing that they're trying to push now with homosexuality. That's a new science that they're trying to sit there and evolve in, and they're trying to sit there and eradicate. That is part of the anti-God movement. You understand? To where, okay, we won't teach about God in school. So now you got high schools where you got nursery centers, unwed mothers. You got high schools where you got metal detectors because you don't want thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. So now the guy comes up in here comfortably with his gun, with his knife, with his razor, with his weapon, because you didn't want the laws of the Most High to be taught. So now Satan entered in. So that is essentially what happens with that. There is, as it says in Proverbs, there is no wisdom nor understanding against the Most High. So by you trying to wiggle your way out of it, you're going to wind up having all kinds of situations and problems. Don't think so. For instance, with some people, look at the guy Stephen Hawking. Now, this is a guy who they say is supposed to be the most intelligent person in the world. And if this person's supposed to be the most intelligent person in the world, how is it that he is unable to walk and he is crippled within a wheelchair? Not due, heaven forbid, a car accident, not due to an accident where he became paralyzed, not due, heaven forbid, he got shot or hurt up to where he's unable to do so. He's paralyzed because of the fact that he said, we don't need the Most High, and he is the smartest one. So now you see exactly what happened. Brothers and sisters, and it's the same kind of movement that they're trying to bring in into these other kinds of stuff. I'd like to go in the scriptures, if we will. Let's go to Ezekiel, brothers and sisters. Ezekiel chapter 28. Okay? So we can gain an understanding concerning this kind of matter. And here is what it says. Ezekiel, the 28th chapter. The word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man, Sorry about that. Sorry, Ezekiel chapter 29. In the 10th year, in the 10th month, in the 12th day of the month, the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him, and say against all Egypt, speak, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, that has said, My river is mine own, and I have made it for myself. And I will put hooks in thy jaws, and I will cause the fish of thy rivers to stick to thy scales, and I will bring thee up out of the midst of thy rivers, and all the fish of thy rivers shall stick unto thy scales, and I will cast thee into the wilderness, thee and all the fish of thy rivers. Thou shalt fall upon the open field. Thou shalt not be brought together nor gathered. To the beasts of the earth and to the fowls of the heaven have I given you for food. And all the inhabitants of Egypt shall know that I am the Most High, because thou hast been a staff of reed to the house of Israel. When They take hold of thee with the hand thou didst break, and rend o'er their shoulders. And when they lean upon thee, thou breakest, and maketh all their loins to be at a stand. Therefore, thus saith Yah Elohim, behold, I will bring a sword upon thee, and I will cut thee off from thee, man and beast, and the land of Egypt shall be desolate and waste, and they shall know that I am the Most High, because he has said, the river is mine, and I have made it. Now, if you look at this pseudoscience stuff, this is Ezekiel 29. You understand? If you look at this pseudoscience stuff that they're talking about, are they not in cahoots, and are they not friends with that Egyptian stuff? See, the brother Mikha'EL, he went into the whole thing with Margaret Sanger and others kind of in depth. So I'm going to touch on it here and there. You understand, as we had discussed. But at the same token, once it comes down to this kind of portion and opening up with this right here, that pseudoscience and that Kemet science, they go hand in hand. The river is mine. I have made it. They ain't not giving thanks to the creator of heaven and earth for having the only river in the world that goes from south to north. The longest river in the entire world. Do you know that the Nile River is longer in length than the United States? From California to New York, it's a very, very long river. It starts in a land that we call Ethiopia today, goes up all through the Sudan, all through Egypt, all through the cataracts, and then it breaks off into the northern part that the ancient Egyptians called the land of Tomeri, and inside the land of Tomeri was the land of Enu, and then the land of Tapankes, and so forth and so on, and it dumps into the Mediterranean. And the way Egypt northern territory is set up by the Most High, it's kind of in a way set up to where nations just can't go and penetrate there by sea, because it's hard to just roll into Egypt into that way due to the geographical situation where the way the river dumps off into the Mediterranean and the way the Mediterranean is set up. No, this Pharaoh here said, the river is mine. I made it for myself. So what did the Most High say? The land of Egypt shall be waste. Is not that land waste? Did not the king who you call Ashur-bani-pal go and bring drama upon the land of Thebes, with the ancient Egyptians called Waset? And did not those same kings sit there and make war against the land of Menophar, which the ancient Egyptians now later on wind up calling the land of Memphis when the Greeks came on? Those nations wind up being the sword that was used by the Most High to go against that land. So that's why it's very important to have and show the connection. With this pseudo-Kemet science, they will sit there and tell you, we are God. So let me understand this. You're saying that you came, remember he mentions fish here, right? You came from a fish, and then you went from a fish to a monkey, then you went from being a monkey to a man. And then you went from that to just claiming the whole entire land of Kemet all for yourself. Just like this Pharaoh here did. He claimed it all for himself and not for the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. So when you go in Exodus, and it says the Most High will declare war against all the gods of Egypt, that's exactly what happened. Each of those plagues, brothers and sisters, represented an attack on one of their god or gods. The Nile turning to blood, that was an attack on the Egyptian god Hapi. The frogs, that was an attack upon the Egyptian god Heket. The fact that the sun went out was an attack upon the Egyptian god Amun-Re. An attack upon the beast was an attack upon the Egyptian god or Set, because she was supposed to be in Egyptian culture the goddess of healing. And the attack upon the firstborn was an attack upon Heru and the Egyptian god Bes, because that was supposed to be the household god to sit there and kill you from certain things. So we have to begin to see, know, and understand, brothers and sisters, that the Most High brought that kingdom down. And the Most High is going to bring this kingdom down. Why do you think about this for a second, right? It's supposed to be America, supposed to be the Bible Belt, like in some states in the South, and it's supposed to be all Christian, supposedly, and so forth and so on. Why is it that they are at war with the nations in the Middle East, quote unquote, the Middle East, but they don't ban Islamic schools inside the United States? Why are there Hindu schools inside the United States? Why is this supposed to be the land of the free? But at the same token, you got it to where if you bring a Bible, if my daughter brings a Bible to school and start reading it, don't you know she can sit there and get detention? Do you know in what they call UCLA? And do you know, like in the school where I teach in, you cannot sit there and teach this kind of stuff here. That's not part of our curriculum. But this is America, the land of the free. So if I have free time and it's not interrupting with the regular work, then what's the problem? Well, no, what I know is you don't want to hear the word of the Most High. So therefore, like it says in Isaiah, therefore the word of the Most High shall be come unto you as one that swelleth out the wall that breaketh forth suddenly upon you. And that's what's going on with the school system. The school system's failing. No, you're failing the children in the school system because you don't want to teach them about the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. And when you see, like we went over before in Psalms 4, it says the Most High reserves unto him who is godly. So when you don't want to be, not that we could be the Most High, but you don't want to sit there and be an upright standing person, a righteous person, you're going to mentally then have to lower yourself to saying that you come from a fish. An animal that stinks to the average human is what you said you came from. You didn't come out of a human being. You came from a fish that went to a monkey and that went from a monkey to being a human being. You cannot show me on any wall in ancient Egypt where that's shown. You cannot sit there and teach any African philosophy that sits there and promotes that kind of idea. The distinct difference between the real Egypt and the arrogant Egypt that we're reading about here in the book of Ezekiel is the fact, brothers and sisters, that this being here in Dynasty 26, when you had the pharaohs, Hafra, Amasis, and Necho, and all of them coming up, and they had just got rid of the Ethiopian dynasty, which is Dynasty 25. So now they kind of, in the street terminology, feeling themselves. So can't nobody tell them anything. Yeah, we got this. It's my river. All right, let's see what the Most High said. Because he said it's going to be desolate. And we can see now it's desolate. Let's move on. And it says the following. Therefore, behold, I am against thee and against thy rivers, and I will make the Egypt utterly waste and desolate, from Migdol to Syene, even unto the border of Ethiopia. No foot of man shall pass through it, nor the foot of beast shall pass through it. Neither shall it be inhabited 40 years. And I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate. And her cities, among the cities that are laid waste, shall be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them through the countries. Meaning that in this portion right here, this is talking about the later situation of what happened when Egypt began to unfortunately fall in Dynasty 27, when the Persians was coming in. Because Dynasty 25 was when the Ethiopians was ruling. Dynasty 26 is when the Egyptians had their own thing going on. And then Dynasty 27, that's when Cambyses, the son of Cyrus, came in and the Egyptians were dispersed. And that dynasty was a 40-year reign. Let's see what the Most High said what happened afterward. And I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities, among the cities that are laid waste, shall be desolate 40 years. And I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them through the countries. For thus saith the Lord God, at the end of 40 years will I gather the Egyptians from the peoples whether they were scattered, and I will turn the captivity of Egypt and will cause them to return into the land of Patros, into the land of their origin, and they shall be there a lowly kingdom. And it says, it shall be the lowliest of the kingdoms, neither shall it any more lift itself up among the nations, and I will diminish them, and they shall no more rule over the nations. So now, if you understand, brothers and sisters, the Bible's not biased in this kind of aspect. It is distinctly letting us know, brothers and sisters, that Egypt at one time was ahead over the nations. But by the time Dynasty 28 came, after the situation with Dynasty 27, that was it. So Dynasty 28, Dynasty 29, and then that little thing that went on with Nectabo with Dynasty 30, that was it. So we have to begin to see, know, and understand how to read the scriptures and line it up with history. Because Ezekiel was during the era when the Babylonians was ruling. So now by the time the Persians came along after they defeated Babylon, if you go for your own time in the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 5, it says that the bear had 3 ribs in its mouth between the teeth of it. the three ribs between the mouth of the bear of the Medo-Persian Empire was 1. Egypt, 525 BCE, Lydia, 549 BCE, and Babylon, 539 BCE. Those are the three ribs in the mouth of it. And the Persian Empire was ruling over that. Now, when you go in your own time, you will begin to see that the Persians were not these kind of people that they try to sit there and promote as if they came out of looking like out of Germany. That's not how it was. So let that be noted and understood. Now, continuing on, it said the following. It shall be the lowliest of the kingdom, neither shall it lift up itself any more above the nations. Because during the era of Dynasty 18, Egypt was kind of like feeling themselves like we have it all the way on lockdown, so to speak, from all the way from the land of Egypt all the way to the river Euphrates. But as time went on, their arrogance began to cause them to fall. So now you see, just like the Most High told who? The children of Israel, that Yah will bring Israel back into Egypt again in ships. The Mount Zorayim, the distress of the sea, in ships. And we begin to see exactly that this society is beginning to fall little by little, little by little. But they keep on. Brothers and sisters want to sit there and make themselves feel as if they're not falling. Just like in the Roman Empire. They keep on sitting there. When Rome was in its later days, they kept on trying to entertain the people with shows and amusements and everything like that. Just like they keep on saying when the issue with 9/11 happened, go out to Disney World, have a good time. Everything's going to be okay. We'll be back to normalcy afterward. No. It says Esau will build up. The Most High said that he will tear down. So we have to begin to know and see what's going on. Right? And there shall be no more the confidence of the house of Israel, bringing iniquity to remembrance when they turn from them, and they shall know that I am the Lord God. So you can sit there and line up biblical prophecy and see how it happened in history. But you cannot sit there and go into the record of any Egyptian thing and line it up with history, because the Egyptians wrote for themselves. The Bible followed the children of Israel wherever they went. They were scattered in Europe. The Bible is there. You got copies of the Torah with the Falashas. You got copies of the Torah with the people in Dahomey. You got copies of the Torah when you read Hebrewisms of West Africa with the Tisi people that's in Western Africa. So it's not too hard to figure out. Wherever Israel went, their copies of their writings followed along with them. This is why they don't like to talk about the writings in the situation with the people in Timbuktu. Why do you think out of all the places in Africa, they keep on talking about Kemet, Egypt, Kemet, Egypt, Kemet, Egypt, as if Kerma by Ethiopia wasn't a great civilization, as if the Nok people were not a great civilization, as if the people of the Maasai were not a great civilization, as if the Shasha people in South Africa originally were not a great people, the Zulu people, as if they were not a great people, as if the people with Askia the Great in Western Africa was not a great people, as if the people with Mansa Musa was not a great people. These are things in Africa that they are not trying to sit there and tell us, but they always want to promote Egypt, Kemet, the only great civilization in Africa that has no people that's able to sit there and say, this was us. Ain't that something? That's what they promote, huh? There are people who are Cushites that could say, yes, we remember when Taharka was ruling over in the land of Simatawi. There are people in Southern Africa that remember when the Zulu had their empire going on. There are people in Western Africa that can tell you, yes, we are the children of the era what happened with Mansa Musa. We remember what happened when the Portuguese came in the Hausa states, and the Oyo Empire, the Zegzeg, the Nufa, the Ashanti, the Kanemborno, all of these different things that existed in Western Africa. Why are they only trying to talk about Kemet? You understand? I'm sorry, but that's suspect to say the least. I can't understand that one for the world. Why, of all the places, you talk about one, and then the one that you talk about, you give a tokenism aspect of it, and then that same one that you're talking about is the one that fell? So let's understand this. Okay, in the Egyptian writings, right, they had what they call the, because we want to talk a little bit about the Kemet thing, if you will. They have what they call the pyramid text, the coffin text, and the thing that they got, what they call the Book of the Dead. Really? So you got coffin, pyramid, and dead. Where is the life? The life is in Torah. That civilization over there, they was more so worried about the afterlife. It felt that this was just a transition for you to be in. So therefore, you can see what kind of aspect that was leading you into. Brothers and sisters, this pseudoscience, make-believe squads, and a lot of people claiming the Kemet science that don't claim to be the people of Kemet, you fraudulent. You're no different than a person going over and saying, oh, I'm going to claim the Chinese civilization, but I'm not Chinese. The Chinese will not stand for that. They're not going to be having that. They're into their own people. But because we don't know our own identity and our own people, unfortunately, in many cases, we latch on to anything that looks like us. And then what is fed to us, as stated, not to be redundant, is the civilization that can't speak for itself. Brothers and sisters, what they call the mental netta was translated by a group of people like August Marriott, and before him, the guy who they call Champollion. Now, there's a debate between whether or not Champollion learned from a black man in the land of Egypt. But let's just hypothetically say that Champollion in the late 1700s and into the 1800s was taught mental netta by a black man in the land of Egypt. Do you realize that Champollion was part-time friends with Napoleon? Napoleon Bonaparte, the short dude, that's the one who turned onto something to overturn the father of Haiti and made sure black people, to his great extent, be enslaved in Haiti. Champollion was a Frenchman. When Champollion was doing his thing, French people had black people in the land of Guadeloupe as slaves. So you got your mental netta from the white man while you was a slave. You have to know and know how to put timeline and correspondence with certain things. The French was still occupying certain parts during the slave trade and even had connections with the Spanish that was operating out of Philadelphia to take black people to Canada as slaves. And for the reference of that, you can go to Hugh Thomas and his book entitled Slave Trade, A History Thereof. So these things here is not something just to be overlooked. And this is why a lot of times they give you a commercialized Africa. They give you a commercialized form of science. Now, I just happened to see something when the brother Mikha'EL was speaking about them trying to take people's organs and them trying to sit there and run experiments on black people. Do we forget the Tuskegee experiment when they took black men and gave them syphilis just so they can see how black men will react to it? That being within the last century and 15 years, because it happened in the 1900s. Do we forget about the experiments that was done on black people to see if they drown just like white people would drown? And these are the same people that Brother Polite and others want us to sit there and give our DNA to. I'm not giving my hair, my saliva, or my blood into these people. Let me show you the hypocrisy of people who want to sit there and keep on trying to talk about, yo, take your DNA test. Take your DNA test. Any man telling you to take that is a fed, man. They sit there and operate on that. Watch crime scene investigation. Watch how they caught a white boy in rape. Because they said we want everyone to, and I'm not saying any of us are rapists, don't get me wrong. I'm saying this, that a lot of times, like in the case with that dude, they said we want everyone to give their DNA, and then it was like, oh, what's DNA? Oh, don't worry about it. Just sit there and get your mouth swapped out. This is an actual case in a high school, and we're just going to sit there and just run tests for a particular reason. Unfortunately, there was a lady that was raped, and then they found out who it was. Now, I'm not saying any of us are rapists. We're not. What I am saying is that the fact of them wanting to sit there and meticulously try to keep on asking Israelites, we want your blood, we want your DNA. The Falashas, who call themselves Beta Yisrael, when they was airlifted after the situation what they call Operation Solomon in the 1990s, they took their blood and they tested it. And then they threw the blood out. And then you wind up having street fights in the land of Israel and everything of that sort between the European Jews and the Beta Israel who are called Falashas. You understand? And so you know this commercialized, romanticized version of Africa is the fact that they don't like the Beta Yisrael. Well, why don't they just stay in Ethiopia? Because they're saying that they come from somewhere else. That's why. Because, brothers and sisters, the fact of the matter is, the era, real talk, when Abraham went to the land of Canaan, the Egyptians had rulership in that particular area. So it's logic that he went also into the land of Egypt for political reasons. So that's the situation, as you understand, as far as that's concerned. The ancient Egyptians didn't have a problem with the Levant. It's the fact that it's our people now saying we are the true people of the Levant. Now that's the problem. Of all the countries in Africa, and the land of Israel is in Northeast Africa geographically, you have a problem with a black man saying he want to go to Beersheba or Hebron or Jerusalem. What's the problem with that? Why are you standing against us with that? Why are you telling us to get our blood tested? No, I'm not getting my blood tested. Talking about there's a blood test clinic 4 blocks from where you are. You are an agent. Polite? Yes, and I hope it's being heard. Because where gentrification is happening in Harlem, and this man is up there like a charlatan prancing around talking about we are the original man. If we are the original man, then why do I need to get my blood tested? I don't need to go and get no DNA test to prove nothing if I'm original. Why are you asking the original to see if they can get a test? If this is your wife and you love her and she loves you, why are you asking her is that your child? I want to go and get a test. It's because there's a lack of trust or a lack of love. That's what it is. You vying for somebody. Every time somebody say you should go and get that test, the Amin Ra squad or post Israelites from ISUPK with it, and the brother asked him, well, what happened when you got your test? Well, I took it and I got 2 different answers. Well, and the brother from the Israelites said, well, let me know when you find your test to be 100. Because he prophesied, as the brother Mikha'EL and I was talking before, is 100. The DNA test is 99.98 or 99.9 something. And the further back you go, the less strong it is. So now we got to ask, with that aspect, what then is the point? And me trying to find a haploid in an E1B1 when I got to sit there and make sure my daughter gets something to eat. When I got to sit there and make sure that I got money for the bills for the next time. Why are you pushing, instead of like you're trying to sit there and clown around talking about we need economics? No, you're not telling us where the jobs are. You're not telling us how to sit there and economically become better. You're telling me to give my blood to this other people. And that's a problem. Because you're fake. That's why. You see, when you're dealing with a person who doesn't have understanding and respect, you're going to have it be shown. And a person who is disrespectful, a nigger, to use the layman term so people can understand what I'm saying, they can't fake the funk. This is a person that you can sit there and say, when I disrespected you and your wife and your daughter, and then later on that same man says, I ain't going to interfere in your space. Black people, is that who you want to follow? That's not who I want to follow. So we have to begin, know, and see and understand certain things in that particular aspect. Let's go back scriptural, if you will. The book of Isaiah chapter 9, verse 15 and 16. And it reads as follows. It says this. For they that lead this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. See, this is why they don't like the scriptures. You understand? They don't like the scriptures because it's sitting there and exposing these kind of characters of people. That's why. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 21, so we can see what it says. All right? Brother Basim, can you hear me clearly and good?
Yeah, you're fine, Kashub. Please continue, brother.
Thanks. Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 21. I have not sent these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied. But if they had stood in my counsel, then let them cause my people to hear my words and turn them from their evil way and from the evil of their doings. That's what it says right here. If you stand in the counsel of the all holy, you will cause the people to turn from their ways. But when you're dealing with this Kemetic science, they ain't got no ways that they say they need to follow. And what ways the ancient Kemetic people had, these people in their New Age movement don't respect. And then they hold, and this is how you know the character of the respectful man who has an understanding of culture and, excuse my language, the nigger. Because they will hold up a picture of Ramses and say, well, where is your Ezekiel? I got my picture of Ramses. But if you read the record with Sobek Kemsaf in Dynasty 21, he got arrested because he was digging up the tombs. When you read the record about what happened in Dynasty 20, Ramses had certain people killed because they were digging up the tombs. So when I, as a brother, as an Israelite, point this out to certain people that they were never, ever supposed to sit there and dig up the tombs, well, you know, no, it's not no. If an Israelite tells an Israelite, brother, we in the lands of our captivity, the laws of our land, the laws of the Most High, in Leviticus chapter 22, it says you should not offer the bread of the Most High from the hand of the foreigner. So I can't take a sheep or a lamb that is bought over at downtown Brooklyn, New York, and say this is the Passover lamb. That's not the Passover lamb. No, it's not. It's a lamb that you're trying to use for commemorating, but that is not the Passover lamb. That is part of the culture of Israel. Deuteronomy 16, verse 5. It distinctly says, you shall not sacrifice the Passover of the Most High within any of your gates, but at the place where the Most High will choose, of course, his name to be at. So you can't play with that culture. Yes, we sit there and memorialize the Passover, but all Israelites know good and well this is not the Passover lamb. We know that. But we dealing with them Kemet dudes, they don't respect the culture of Kemet. They will sit right there and keep on saying, look, this picture says, I found my ancestors. And they're not your ancestors. Because the only thing you're trying to show is a bunch of dead pharaohs. But did you realize that there were 32 dynasties? Dynasty 22 was a different family than Dynasty 21, which was a different family than Dynasty 18, which was a different family than Dynasty 19. That's how they got different dynasties. In most cases, when you read about that, the situation that happened with the Ramses, they were not related in Dynasty 20 to the people that was in Dynasty 18. The people that you see in Dynasty 13 were not related linearly to the people in Dynasty 17. That's very important to let it be noted. And if you don't think so, look at Dynasty 18 of Egypt meticulously, because you had the guy Akhenaten, who was the son of Amenhotep III. Then you had Akhenaten, and then you had his son Tutankhamun, and then Tutankhamun got killed, and then you had the guy Ay, or Ay, and after him you had a guy named Horemheb. But Horemheb was not of royal dynasty. He got into the throne because it was open. So now you're trying to sit there and say, these are my ancestors. You're claiming two different lines of the families of the same people, though. So you got, this is my uncle here on this side, Horemheb, and his man is, his cousin over here would have been Akhenaten. Just using that as an example. And this is what you're claiming. You're claiming an uncle there, a cousin over there. Meanwhile, the Most High, like it says in the scriptures, Israel forgot their resting place. The ox knows his owner, and the donkey his master crib. But Yisrael does not know. My people do not consider. Why is it that you don't look in any of the mental net walls and see you will go into captivity by way of ship with a yoke iron, hungry, thirsty, and naked, and your eyes shall look at your children as they are taken from you and shall long all the day, while and there is no might in the power of your hand. How in the world did all of that happen? Their answer for that is, well, you had it to where a society came up, and the Portuguese traders came. No. See, you're not understanding what I'm saying. You're not going to sit there and tell me that the Portuguese traders came over to the land of Dahomey and wound up taking captives because of slave trading. No, because slave trading is very old. So you got to sit back and come with another answer on how the families was broken up. Because the wise slave master wants to keep the family together. So that way, by keeping the family together, you have happier slaves. Happier slaves means that people will work harder because they want to sit there and maintain that. That's how ancient nations who were either Hamitic or Shemitic, they kept their slave families together, you know. You understand? In most cases. The European man came with another concept. So then we have to begin to see and know how and why did such a thing happen. They're not going to give you an answer that's adequate. Why we went into captivity. Who went into captivity? Because the ancient Egyptians went south. The children of Israel went to Western Africa. The slave ships picked the people up from Western Africa. Ain't no slave ship picked nobody up from the land of Kemet. They picked them up from the lands and shores of Western Africa. So their argument then is, well, it's all the same. It's all Africa. No. Well, they're all related. No, they're not. And if you don't understand, brothers and sisters, and I've asked a couple quote-unquote Pan-Africanists and so forth and so on about this kind of subject. Reason why we seem to be harping on this is because we're trying to let it be noted that not all of Africa was monolithic. Not all of it was monolithic. The country and the culture of each people was different. Inside of certain countries, you got different people whose cultures is different. But when you don't respect the people for their culture and for their land and for their language, you say, oh, it's all Africa. No, that's what the European man did. He went over there and said, well, this is all just one big massive land. But the people in there, they knew the difference. Call a Chinese man Korean or vice versa and see if they don't let you know the difference. And do it in a joke. And I don't mean to sound harsh or niggerish. If you come to New York, do not do that on 6th Avenue and 33rd Street. Because them Koreans will whoop your behind. I'm going to keep the language clean. Do not go to Lispenard Street off the E train and deliberately and meticulously and for a joke call the Chinese, the Japanese, and try to laugh and see if you don't get ran down the block. Those from New York know exactly what I'm talking about. They are nationalists. They do not sit there and play that game like they try to sell the so-called conscious community. All of Africa, and we're going to get economics. How in the world are you going to get economics to be social here when you came here with your penis out, with your anus out, with her breasts out, and with the children all huddled up in her arms, butt naked? That's how you came here broke. That's how you got to Virginia. That's how you got to North Carolina. You ain't have no money, but you think you're going to come in that same society and then gain over and then become rich in that society to go back to a home, quote unquote? That's not intelligent, brother. You are not going to find true peace until you get back to your own land. And nobody on earth outside of our people try to claim an entire continent. Look, and I stated this over and over and over and over to a lot of people into the Kemetic community. All you got to do is look at the record of Kamos of Dynasty 17. But like the Bible, it stands against them. Because Kamos said he was the son of Senekwe and the brother of Pharaoh Amos. And Amos being, you know, the father of Amenhotep I. Now, situation with Kamos in particular is he said, why am I the Egyptian standing in between the Ethiopian and the Asiatic? While each of them is taking their own part of Samatawi, or the land of Egypt. Oh no, we got to get these Hyksos out. These Cushites is going to sit there and be eradicated from our land. He was internationalism. But if you don't know what nation you belong to, you can't be a nationalist. Amos was a nationalist. Mentuhotep, the guy who put the red and white crown on his head for Sematawi, Tomeri, and Tamenhu for Upper and Lower Egypt, he was a nationalist. And this is why they don't like, even when Hebrew Israelites bring this out to them, that the land of Egypt was properly called by their own people the land of Sematawi, which means the unity of the, listen carefully, the unity. That's what our people don't want to be about. The unity of the two lands. And those two lands did not include Tanzania of today, South Africa, It did not include the Cameroon. It did not include Kush. You understand? When it said the land, the two lands, it was talking about where they were at in particular. You understand? So let that be noted and understood. That's very, very important, man. Now, let's get into some history. Which is older, the Hebrew or the Kemetic science? Because the Kemetic science is very young in the black community. Hebrew Israelites, correct me if I'm wrong, dates back to the era with Crowdy, and before that with Cherry. Then you had situations before that where Nat Turner knew himself as an Israelite. Read the Confessions of Nat Turner. Read that. There's two things in there that made the people sit there and really wonder the position of Nat Turner. You understand? I am what you call, quote unquote, non-messianic, or what they say is that's an Old Testament brother. Two things that Nat Turner said in there that kind of made the people be like, uh-oh. He said, one, the Most High. He didn't, not trying to be funny. He didn't say the Lord. He didn't say God. He said, the Most High told me to do what I did. Well, Mr. Turner, did you not think that when you'll be caught, you'll be killed? And his response to the Christian was, well, Christ was condemned for what he believed. That killed the whole type of thing. Everybody was just like, uh-oh. They couldn't sit there and deal with that anymore at that point. You understand? So let that be noted and understood. Now, he knew he was of the house of Israel. Queen Gehenna in Western Africa, she knew she was of the house of the tribe of Judah. This is why she said, pick up the throne, ye sons of Judah, and let us go and fight against these Arabs. You understand? So these types of things was already known, brothers and sisters. You had Israelite kingdoms that were scattered throughout the length and breadth of what you call Western Africa. And the indigenous Africans knew who they were selling when they were selling. And that is why they now come, even though they don't want to, quote unquote, give you land. Supposedly, they come with their, oh, we apologize. If you didn't do nothing wrong, there'll be no need for you to apologize to anybody. But our people, though the apology was given from the king of Gambia, because not all people in Western Africa is Israel, by the way. They don't like to sit there and hear about that, because then that crushes their mythological Africa, where it's all one land, where you can go into the land of Cameroon and think you're going to see a pyramid with Mental Netter in it. It's not so. Just the same. In certain parts of Kenya, in certain parts of Ethiopia, the people, males and females alike, put plates in their lips. I've asked the Kemetic brother, if you could show me any Egyptian painting where they put plates in their lips to show the unity of all African people and cultures, like Dr. Clark attempted to say, it's all one people with different cultures. No, it's not. It's different people that have the same skin tone, but different cultures. But they don't want you to recognize the uniqueness, even of ancient Egypt, the uniqueness of Kush, the uniqueness of Cameroon, the uniqueness of the Congo, the uniqueness of the Arikam, the uniqueness of the Suri, the uniqueness of the Berbers, the uniqueness of the Mandingos, which became the Moors. No, they don't want to sit there and have you think about that. Y'all niggas just keep on sweating Egypt. We Jewish people, the white ones I'm talking, we'll just keep on holding your records while you keep on looking at the penis on the wall, and y'all argue about that. But in the meantime, because Ben Ami went over to the land of Israel, and the only successful movement of black people as an exodus wasn't to Kemet. No, Ashwa Kwesi makes visits there. Ben Ami went over there. They ripped their passports. I'm back home. That was done in 1971. Then all of a sudden,
Kashub, excuse me for interrupting. Believe me, you were doing your thing. I hate to even have to interrupt you, brother. I just wanted to let you know that there's probably about 10, 12 minutes left on the live stream. Mikha'EL told me to set the show for 2 hours, so we're coming up on that time marker. But man, that was powerful. And you know, as always, if you want to do a part 2 or anything like that, you're more than welcome to do it on the platform. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know in case there's something you wanted to get out. But go ahead, and I hate to interrupt you, but I had to. But go ahead and keep on talking. And also, I want to let you know that there's Yahawada is in here with us, and there's a couple other Israelite brothers that wanted to participate, and I have to capture the closing to properly close the show and let people know where to hear more from you, where they can find your YouTube channels. If I don't capture that footage before it cuts off, I won't be able to add it in. But I just wanted to give you the heads up. Please continue, Ak.
All right, cool, cool. Thank you for the heads up and the aspect with that. Basically, in closing, I would like to sit there and state this: of all the history that can sit there and be expounded on and spoken on, basically it's about ultimately returning back to Yah, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth, and that's done by keeping His laws, His statutes, and His commandments. Leviticus 18 tells us that the man who does it lives in it. If you're messianic, it tells you in 1 John chapter 5 verse 3 that to love God is to keep His commandments. His commandments is in the scriptures, and these are things that I wanted to sit there and basically close out on. If I may then say, my Facebook is basically, if you look it up, it's Kashub Danite, Kashub, Kashub Danite, Danite, Kashub Danite. And you will see my picture come up with me with my glasses and the Hebrew background, and that'll be the picture and the name in reference with that. My email, if it's of interest to anybody, Morehone, MOREHONE @yahoo.com. MOREHONE @yahoo.com. So I say thank you for the time. And shalom. And yes, I'm hoping to have a part 2. We'll speak like in the inbox to let each other know the availability. Shalom.
We appreciate it, man. That was a powerful presentation. And I'm going to include in the description box describing this video. I mentioned it in the other episode of Hebrews in the Hood. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're honored to have Moreh Yeshaya, also known as Kashub the Danite, Kashub the Historian. You can hear some of his lessons on his YouTube channel, which is Moreh Yeshaya. I'll include the links in the description box. You can also hear some of his lessons on Blog Talk Radio. He was on Hebrew War Machine Radio. He was also on Debate Talk for You, hosted by Sal Showtime. And if you go to Debate Talk for You, not only did he do some lessons on that platform, he's actually done a couple debates also. So definitely, man, we appreciate it. Thanks again, Ak. But Mikha'EL, do you want to chime on in, brother?
Yeah, well, we got about 7 minutes.
Yeah, we'll just go till it runs. But go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah, I like to say, man, I highly appreciate, man, thank you so much, my dear brother Kashub. That was a beautiful, clear breakdown and analysis that you did from both the pseudoscience, how it connects to Egypt, and how it don't connect to Egypt, as it relates also historically, and how it can relate to us today in this new age pseudo teaching that they got running around here, that make us think that we actually attain a knowledge by thinking we come from a tree swinger. So with that being said, I know we got the brother Yahweh on here. I know we may stay on the line. So if it's anybody that want to talk talk after the live stream is gone, they need to come on and jump on here. We can talk later off air about the show that just went on. Yeah, there's one little more pock shot I want to throw out there. Since the brother Kashub had brought up the situation with Polite, it's one thing I want to say, and it's not just him, but it's people out there who say that they all for black empowerment, and then they'll tell you that they love you, you their brother, even if you do believe in the Bible, although they don't subscribe to a Bible, and they'll say that they love you even if you are a Hebrew. It's one thing I want to say, and it's not. And so, mute your mic, Kashub. And, and they will say that they love you despite y'all differences. Yet they will say out their same mouth, if the Hebrews existed, I've heard a brother say this, that the Hebrews were definitely black and they were in the land of Egypt. But in the same voice, they'll tell you, well, the extraterrestrial aliens built the pyramids. So they would go so far to rather give the credit to some aliens than to give it to another group of black people. I want y'all to really ponder on that, you know, and that's really shows it has to be something behind that, because that's really not intelligible talk. That's more anti-Bible, anti-Hebrew, you know, hate anything that's not what they believe in type talk. So with that being said, I'd say thank all the viewers, all the listeners that came to Hebrews in the Hood. I love y'all. You know, like I said, every Thursday, 3:30 Eastern time, and also every Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time, we'll be coming with those topics that a lot of people scared to touch. So until next time, I'd like to say shalom, shalom, and Hebrews in the Hood. Balls Jericho, baby.
Hey, Mikha'EL, real quick, brother, until it closes out. You know, we've got Issa, Kashub, Garfield, while we've got Kashub here. Regardless of what takes place from this point on, I've got this video marked private, and if anything goes sideways, I can edit it out. But I would like to have a little discussion if Kashub's willing to, and just, you know, bounce some ideas off each other, just kind of open dialogue. Issa is a Muslim, but he's respectful, and you know, Kansu and Garfield, they lean towards a little bit different belief system than us, but nothing can mess up the lesson that the brother Kashub and yourself just presented. I can edit the footage whenever, so if it's all right with you, I'd like to maybe close this out with a little group discussion. Like I said, nothing can mess up. I have the editing, and you know, the video is private. It's not going to hit YouTube till I give it the approval.
I hear you. It's understood, and but since we're gonna do it, we're gonna do everything decent and in order. The brother, where did Yahweh go?
He dropped out. I'm sure he'll be back.
Yahweh dropped out. There we go. Okay, Yahweh have been waiting for about an hour. Yeah, peace to everybody on the panel. Peace to brother Kansu. Peace to brother Garfield. Peace to brother Israel Doctrine. Of course, shalom to my brother Yahweh, and peace to Supreme. Hey, Yahweh, the man that you've been waiting here the longest, man, was it anything that you wanted to expound on the conversation or the show that we had earlier? I don't know if you heard my introduction, first part of the show, but I know you were able to catch Moray Shire. Yahweh. Well, I guess he I don't know. He went on somewhere. But yeah, okay, it's cool. Open up the mics. I'm about to fix me something to eat. And again, peace to all that's listening live. Hope y'all enjoyed it.
Yahweh, did you have something to say? Or brother Issa, salam, Aki, I see you unmuting your mic, but you know, let's have a discussion.
Salam, yeah, I didn't actually get to see the show. What was this one about?
We touched on some of the beliefs related to, you know, some of the information as far as the Kemetic thing, you know, Kemetic groups or Kemetic science believers are leaning towards. Kashub touched on evolution, and as far as it relates to ancient Kemet and things like that. And I guess just to start it off, Yahweh to jump on in at any time, but if Kashub can hear me, maybe he could touch on how the fact that the mythology and some of the myths that are related to ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, when people go to push evolution, it kind of makes it seem hypocritical, because you know, the myths and the mythology of their creation myths, it kind of, you know, points you in the other direction. Maybe somebody would like to touch on that.
Are you talking about the creation myths in regards to Kemet?
Yes, Kansu.
Yeah. Well, the creation myths in regards to Kemet do not conflict with evolution. Hold on 1 second, guys.
Before he comes back,
Kashub, can you hear me?
Hey, sorry about that. I heard you guys mention me, but I was trying to make my way to the car.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think Kashub's trying to respond. Go ahead, Moray, your shot.
Yeah, I hear you, Mikha'EL.
Yeah, you real low, but I want to know if you or Yahweh want to take a shot at Kansu had asked exactly what the show was pertaining to, and Basim kind of gave him a short layout. One of the things that you touched on was the fact that the new age, let me make clarification, this new age evolution, black pseudoscience running around here, they trying to almost legitimize it by using the walls of Kemet, things of that nature that you touched on. And you know, also, you know, I opened it up and basically I just went straight in on the origins of evolution, because I've seen Architect and other brothers you know, make a plea to justify it and say that it's silly if we call it white man science and all that. So I didn't do that. I didn't call it none of that. I called it exactly what it was. I took it to the origins of Darwinianism. You know what I'm saying? And then I went to the life of Darwin. Then I went to the mindset of Darwin as recorded by his peers and even some of his own statements. Then I came back to America and went to the eugenics project with whole Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. The whole thing is connection with Nazism. That whole thing, and saw how actually they piggybacked off each other and they were actually related. That Charles Darwin's cousin was actually related to the whole, was one of the founders of the eugenics movement and was connected to Nazism. How they all thought alike and had the same mind process, and they all pushed that we came from monkeys, and specifically they were really dealing with the Negroid race, and it's recorded in the information that I brought today. So if y'all want to touch on that, anybody, Yahweh, Garfield, Issa, you know, anybody, just go ahead.
What I want to say directly to what you said there, brother, is what do you make of the fact that Anka Ket quoted from two Muslim books? The first one being by Al-Jahiz, and he was around in the 9th century. And the second was, I think they're in the 9th or 10th century, who were the Ikhwan Safa, which means the Brothers of Purity. And they both write on evolution, specifically the Brethren of Purity write on coming from monkeys.
No, I specifically, I'm going to tell you what I did. It's not that I was not informed on that, because I heard y'all talking about it and I went and checked. I specifically expounded on the fact that he's quoted Charles Darwin's work. You can't get around that. Okay, it's cool for him to have an additional person who comes before that, but I'm talking about specifically Charles Darwin. See, I ain't gonna talk on something that I don't know about. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, you know, in great detail, but I'm gonna speak out what him and other people in that community have taken directly from Charles Darwin. I mean, word for word. Even some of the comparisons they use come from the peers of Charles Darwin. And then so I went into Charles Darwin himself. So you can't, you know, so could nobody run from that. Okay, you can have these additional things, but let's deal with one of the ones who you can't run from that you do support. And that's what we address. We can do that other half later, but we definitely address that one, and there ain't no denying it.
Well, what I'm saying is based upon what you said, like evolution coming from them. Are you saying that basically that they themselves, like they can say, well, evolution, you know, the people that mentioned it were before Darwin. But are you saying that when they're talking about their position, they mention Darwin? Is that
no? No, brother. What I'm saying is, see, even when you talk about other people who had similar concepts of evolution, it was never called the exact same thing that Charles Darwin called it, right? Because if you're talking about a Muslim or Arab or African Muslim in the 9th century, we know he was not using the same terminology that Charles Darwin was using. You see what I'm saying? So I'm talking about somebody who is quoting the exact same stuff from the science and experiments of Darwinianism. Matter of fact, let me make it clear because I said that earlier. Darwinianism. Not just evolution, Darwinianism. Word for word.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if your issue with them is, because my issue with Uncle Ketten knows what I mentioned last night. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, because it was about 3 in the morning, I can't remember. But definitely after the show, live show, I said a lot of people I think have issues with him shouting about Africa a lot, but then presenting the Western paradigm of evolution. I'm saying what Assar started to do was to show allegedly that African traditions teach evolution. But my point was, why don't you do the whole thing from the African perspective if you're going to promote Africa so much? Because I said if a Muslim's talking about evolution, he's going to talk from the Quran. He don't need to go into Darwin. He might show parallels, but the ultimate perspective he's coming from is from the Quran. So I'm saying if he's talking about evolution, then surely, and Africa as well, then surely he's going to talk from an African perspective, the African culture, whether it be Kemet, wherever, Yoruba, whatever, and then show parallels. But instead of that, it's more he's just promoting Western science, the Western perspective of evolution.
Well, I think that'd be a good question to ask him if you haven't already asked him that, because the fact, like I said, what I was intentionally focused on was what you just said. We can word it that way. The Western evolutionary theory. And as a matter of fact, you're making mention of a Muslim from the 9th century that had a similar concept or belief of evolution. Then I asked for somebody to show me, because what he claims is Kemet. Let's go ahead and keep this 100. He claims Kemet. To some degree, like the brother Kashub was bringing up, they've made basically the whole Mother Africa Kemet. So if this is Kemet, and this is Kemet science is what you brag on, you got to show me evolution in Kemet from the Kemetic natives, not from some Arab invaders, not from some other Africans from another part of the continent, because it wasn't even considered related at one time. You got to show me this if you pushing this type of quote-unquote Kemet science on our community. If not, you have to admit you coming with something that you took, specifically the points that I pointed out, where we quoted Charles Darwin word for word, saying that he put the Negro and the baboon and the ape and the Australian or the Aborigine on the same scale. Therefore, we could be treated, and it's called social, social Darwinism. And that's something that's actually going on now amongst our people, and I think they're doing it subconsciously and don't even know it. And I put up a picture, and I asked, and this wasn't that, this was at a few people that I heard say that the black woman is God. Okay, that's cool if that's what you believe in. I mean, that ain't a bad thing, well, a bad status, I guess. Well, it can be, but because it'll make her think she can't do no wrong. But let's just say you putting a black woman on a high pedestal. Good. Well, if you tell her she God, and Basim put up a picture for me I had where they got the ape lady. I don't know if that's supposed to be Lucy, but the one that she basically looked like a monkey going into a human. So if the black woman is God, the question on the meme was, then who is she? I got that from Al. I got the picture from Al. Then who is she? So you can't on one hand tell us the black woman is God, and then turn around and say the black woman came from a monkey. So that means if the black woman is God, then that ape is super God. It makes no sense. You see what I'm saying? I don't care how you intelligentize it. You cannot. This cannot be. I would never advocate pushing this to our children. I would advocate pushing science. And when I say science, I mean if we're going to have young minds and a new generation of scientists coming up in our communities, you know what they should do? We have our own chemists, we have our own biogeneticists, we have our own physicists, and what they need to do is comparative studies, weed out all the bull crap, all the Euroscience, and even all of the pseudoscience that come from the West, and they got to clean this mess up and come with something that's literally provable that is beneficial for our people. Because telling them they come from monkeys and you can't prove it don't help nobody. It just go back to the stereotype of what they said when they needed reasons to justify enslaving us. We ain't nothing but baboons. This is what Darwin said. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean, brother.
Well, I
wasn't really getting into a historicity battle about who really came with evolution first. I wasn't really getting into that, although I made mention of it. My whole thing was what you teaching, who it lined up with, and do you know the agenda that was behind it, and how you don't even know subconsciously you pushing it. And then you try to tell us, when we also prove that the Bible supports science, that I was telling them the sides of the camp that I come from, we literally have scientists in our camp. You know, like I said, we have a feast, a high feast there, a Passover or something. We got 6,000-7,000 people there. Probably 8,000 people. You know what I'm saying? You would be illogical for you to think that we don't have doctors, lawyers, physicists, marine biologists, all of these things. And I know for a fact we got them because I know people that's in particular fields of that matter. So what I'm saying is, it's not anti-science. It's anti-dumbing down, racist, think left of yourself, stupid, can't see, pseudo, I'm telling you, neo-Nazi science. That's what I'm talking about.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Why do you?
I take it you ain't hear the whole show.
I heard the whole show.
Okay. Tell me where you disagree with your brother Kashub while I'm fixing me a sandwich.
If you're going to be, I said this before, I said this on the last show with all due respect, if you're not going to include the proper criteria that defines evolution, then you cannot cherry pick speaking to an ignorant group of people who may not understand evolution completely about an aspect of evolution called natural selection versus a design that may have an intelligence to it. That's what these undertones are about. And because the natural selection tends to have social and political connotations, denotations to a cognitive colloquial problem called racism, and the fact that we will call porch monkeys, and the fact that we will call monkeys in general, is why it's not taken as well as it should be. But do not say that it holds no scholarly merit. Do not say that this is something that should not be taught, because you are speaking from a socialist and a social politicalist point of view, and that should be made clear, because information and knowledge is not racist. The people that push it is. The Bible isn't racist. The people that push it are. And that is a big distinction from just generalizing information when people are. We haven't talked about genetic gene flow. We have not talked about any other elements of evolution that compile the entire composite understanding of evolution. It isn't just natural selection, in which Darwin was made famous for. A lot of his things I don't agree with totally. Some of his aspects were definitely on point. They make sense. So you cannot do that, because that's what's disingenuous and that's what's misleading. Because if you study evolution, you will understand that. I just wanted to say that.
Okay, to study evolution is cool. I also assume that my audience is ignorant is also disingenuous. And let me say
no, sir. I'm not going to let you do that, brother.
No, that's
ignorant
what you said.
Is a bad word. I'm ignorant.
You said
that.
Listen, Kashub. You said that
you've controlled the conversation, but I'm not going to let you misrepresent me.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. This is what you said. We can rewind it when it's live. You said the problem comes in when someone cherry picks out of evolution and then teach or says it to somebody who is ignorant. Now, so I just have to talk. You did say this, and hold on, this is the thing. And then you said you saw the whole show. Well, you must have missed the whole part where I specifically spoke on social Darwinism. And then you just said, well, see, you're speaking from a social perspective. I made that clear. And I said social Darwinism. And I did the connection with racism. So either you missed certain parts, or you stepped out and went to the bathroom, or you just assumed that that's how I would talk, like a religious person who don't study.
No,
hasn't listened to
that is not what I'm assuming.
I watch all y'all shows. I said,
okay, now can I retort, or are you going to get ready to go on another paradox? Because you got to give me a chance to retort to what you just said. You don't have to go into a small rant to substantiate what you just said, because in context of the word ignorant is a bad thing. I'm ignorant of a lot of things. That means it's something I'm not understood of or educated in. Everybody isn't educated on evolution. As a matter of fact, evolution wouldn't even be a conversation right now if the little conscious community didn't even bring it up. The evolution conversation has been going on for hundreds of years. So it hasn't become popular until it became a fad here. And now people are interested in evolution. So that's not what I'm talking about, because the average person don't go around talking about evolution or Darwinism. They don't. That is a specified subject matter. If you are going around talking about it, it's in a specified group. Nobody's sitting around the water cooler at work talking about it. So I don't want that to be stretched out of context, because I respect the listeners on the show. I'm just about talking the truth. I'm talking about having scholarly integrity. Yes, I did hear you say social Darwinism, but I also heard you say this evolution should not be taught to your children, and it should not be promoted in a certain way. I also heard you say that. So we're gonna have to be accountable on both ends.
I stand by that, bro.
Right. Mikha'EL, I don't know if you guys can hear Kashub. Kashub's trying to comment. I don't know if you can hear him, Mikha'EL, and then we'll pick it right back up. Go ahead, Kashub.
All right, thanks, brother. I just have a statement and a question, if I heard right. When brother, pardon me if I mispronounce your name, Khansu, when you say that there are not people that's going around talking about evolution or Darwinism and so forth and so on, what setting are you speaking of when you say people are not talking about it? Because there are classes in schools that are set up just for that. There are organizations that are set up dedicated to that kind of talk and organization and research. So I need to know, when you say people are not just sitting around talking about it, who are the people that are not just sitting around talking about it? Because I work in a place where they have places where they sit there and talk about that stuff.
Generally speaking, the general population, people that work general jobs, people that walk around every day in life, are not talking about evolution versus creation. You'll have isolated conversation, but this is a specified field of study. Just like you're not going to have a populace of people, you're not going to have a populace of people talking about brain surgery or ontology or optometry. We are talking about a specified skill set that requires specified training. You may have a general conversation in regards to it by certain people, but not on the populace. Not on the general
but we're talking about it now.
Well, I would like to say something in regards to that.
Question. You're going to come back with a double. If you're going to come back and double talk me after I answered your question directly, then you need to let the people know that's what you're doing. Because I answered your direct question, and if you can't refute it, then it's point taken.
Hold on.
We're going to have direct scholarship here. We're not going to play games here.
So you said that if it wasn't for the small conscious, that this evolution issue wouldn't even be spoken about or be on the map. But obviously that's not true, because there's so many debates and discussions going on with intelligent design. So when you said, there's not people around talking about it, I know full well that me and loads of Muslims be discussing this, and it's a common topic of talk. Whether Muslims will say,
Again,
well, no.
I'll say this again, Brother Issa.
You guys,
And
you guys hear?
that's point taken. Your point is taken direct. I definitely agree with that within your specified sect of what you're talking about. Yes, sir. What I'm saying is that as of late, with this conscious community, with a conference that was held with unqualified people presenting it, it has become a popular within the conscious community. And
Okay.
in general speaking, it's not found that this is an open field of study. It's not. I digress. I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Okay, no, it's fine. I wanted to make a comment. I would agree with Kansu in the fact that in the conscious community, it was not brought about. And in my opinion, I think it was brought out, of course, so that a new argument or discussion or debate or whatever like that. But that's my opinion. But in general sense, I come from a background of Bible believers, right? So this is an age-old conversation that we've been dealing with for a while. I've been involved in the conversation and debates of evolution for decades. In fact, I've been involved with that, right? Got into the Israelite faith. So I understand what you're saying, Consul, as far as no one was really talking about it, and I can see the frustration in that all of a sudden everybody's like, which sometimes I admit as well, when people misrepresent what evolution really is and does.
No, that's most, and I'm not trying. Like I said, I'm not here to say everything is perfect from a certain perspective, because my stance is, first off, Kemet is not the end all be all, and I don't know where that started. Well, I know where it started. Once again, from a small group of representatives, so-called representatives, that do not represent Nile Valley culture or Kemetic history. They're not even close to representing it. And I've been studying it for 26 years, and I'm 45. So in studying this, having been out to Egypt, having been to Kemet and been there, this isn't even close. It doesn't even touch the Kemetic paradox. So for someone to even make a statement, and I said this in the last Hebrews in the Hood show, that I have much respect for, I said this before. Me personally, I'm no longer going to allow digression of scholarship that is being scholars that are irresponsible. If you study Kemet for any amount of time, or if you study Egyptology, you will understand Kemet is not the end all be all to the paradox called Africa. There are 56 states and 13 million square miles. I heard it mentioned during this show that there's a uniqueness to Africa and its tribes, and I totally agree with that. But Kemet is not stuck in a paradox of being the end all be all. It definitely is not. And I wanted to make that clear, because everybody needs to hear both sides of the spectrum.
Oh no, definitely, most definitely. Let me say something. Let me say something before anybody say something. Well, Kansu, I've never even once thought that you thought like that, because you made that clear from the minute that I met you, that you don't think everything just started in Kemet. So that's exactly why we had this show, and I even mentioned that. So I'm saying, where do this new age mess come from, where they have you believe in the most unbelievable stuff? For a simple, I'm going to bring up two simple points and let y'all continue to open up, and I'm mute. Okay, y'all know I can make stuff sound real simple and make people look stupid, but I'm not going to do that. But it's just comical sometimes. Okay, for instance, I always ask people, I said, man, you believe in the 42, the 42 laws of confessions or whatever, right? Yeah. Well, we know 42 is a significant number because from what they say, if you research, that the Nile Valley, or let's say Kemet, actually originated from 42 original tribes. So if Kemet originated from the 42 original tribes, what I always asked them was, where did those tribes come from? Oh, well, some of them came from the east, some of them came from... So that means Kemet didn't originate nothing, not even itself. So that's foolishness. Second, I like to... No, seriously, I try not to make it do that to people, but this is just how I look at it. And so I also have to ask, again, if you believe that the black man and woman is God, and then you also believe that the black man and woman came from an ape, then what does that make the ape? I honestly want somebody to answer that. If we God and we came from an ape, what is that ape? A super God? A super duper God?
Can I answer that?
First,
Go
first
ahead,
and
go ahead, bro.
foremost, when you talk about the 42 Hespul, or the 42 uh gnomes in Kemet, if you will, there was more than that. It was actually 47 and even 67 at a point in time. So we're definitely talking about tribes that got together, conglomerized concerning what they thought Netir was, and then they put their paradigms forward and they brought it to a head as Amun Ra when an enemy attacked. So it's not as if, uh, oh, I'm at work. Hold on, yo.
While he touches on that, I want to touch on the second question, if you don't mind.
I say go for it, man. You did?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Touch on the second question, brother. We hear you.
Okay. When we say, and this is my personal stand on this, when we say the black man or the black woman is God, you gotta understand this is not a completely just logical standpoint. It's true, but it's not completely based on logic. It has a logic in it, but it's not completely based on logic, and there's some emotion involved in it. So you have to separate the two and use the logic to stand your purpose. And a lot of people don't do that.
Well,
Um,
from what I heard from, I had an Afrocentrist actually tell me this, and they said that the reason why they call the black woman is God because they say, well, scientifically, if one can prove that all men and women are derived from an African type people, and the African woman was the first of those who can conceive or give birth to a race or a people, and therefore she is God in the sense of origin. Um, but what we find in the community is that a lot of them like to take that and kind of deify that stance by saying, oh, we are gods, divine gods in the sense of what's in our melanin, something else. You know, have people kind of take it to the extreme, but some people just explain plainly saying the reason why we call black women a god because if she is in fact the first of the human race, if black people are the first, she would be the first woman. She would be the beginning of all of that origin.
but even that, if you check it, most of what their ideas are sort of backdrop from, or shall I say, evolved from the Nation of Islam, where the Nation of Islam would be saying the black man's God and the black woman's God.
Can you hear me?
Then the 5%, would go around saying the same thing. So it seems they started off, it became a common thing to say. I think the 5%ers made it a more common thing to say,
Right.
where you didn't have to belong to such a strict movement like the Nation of Islam. And then it just flowed from there. And then when it got to the let's say, Kemet followers, they then started to mix it a bit with, the concepts that we're seeing, the images of human beings that are called gods by the Caucasian translators. So it's kind of like, well, this was us. We used to be kings and queens, and we are gods. So it seems to be a mishmash of ideas and concepts which have evolved. But really, most of the people that say that when they're checking Kemet, they haven't actually studied Kemet.
That's why I said
Or
it's
even any
emotion.
science about it. Yeah. It's definitely that. It's a kind of a feel-good thing.
Right.
And I think it should come to a close now. Like, some of the things we were taught, like Nation of Islam and other groups, it was more to fill us with self-confidence. So I'm saying I think we've come to a time where we now need to put down a lot of these things, because after a while, if you keep saying those things, once you've grasped self-confidence, once you've grasped a position where you can study the reality of who and what you are, but if you keep your head in this fantasy world, you're not going to progress. Do you get me? So for me, it's like, well, no, you're not really God or gods. That's not really what you are in relation to the bigger picture. You might be part, you might be a oneness with it, whatever. But, we need to get back to the reality of what this thing really is. You know, if we're going to define what a God is, do you get me? And obviously, from the chemics, from most traditions, especially in Africa, if the human being is this God, then who is he invoking? Whether it be in voodoo, whether it be in Kemet, wherever you find it, there's always concepts of some other beings or being greater than yourself. So, you know, obviously those concepts don't make sense.
Right.
You know what? I somewhat agree with that, because what's going to wind up doing, because it's a lot of illogical teaching out here that's slapped under the brand of science. And if you don't understand that particular science, then you consider basically, you know, you basically just always, you just don't understand it. Well, this the thing, based off what y'all was just saying, I agree I agree with it a nice amount, because what's going to wind up happening, the lines are going to get bluer. If we're going to have to redefine what a God is, do off the strength of a monkey. Look, you know that's bad when the monkey, the ancestor monkey that made us redefine what a God is. Or if not, we're going to have to redefine what a monkey is. If what's going to wind up happening, we're going to have to redefine what a man is. So,
Yes, that
you
needs
see
to
what
be
I'm
done
saying?
anyway. That needs to be done anyway, because the current society, and especially the conscious community, like the brother Superior said earlier, we repeat so much stuff that it becomes emotional. It's like we have to redefine God. We got to redefine what a man is. A lot of people don't know. We have to redefine what a woman is. We have to redefine what that monkey is. But you got to put logic to it. You just can't use the emotion.
And let me ask you, what benefit would it have to our people and humanity to redefine the human species? I would really like to know. And it's
No,
an honest question.
not to redefine the human species, but just to redefine what the role is of a man, what the role is of a woman. Right now, you have a lot of confusion because there's people who think they know and they don't.
Okay, that's a good answer. Yeah, just like you got like you got a good example for what you just said. Just like you got people teaching that basically all men are underdeveloped women. So yeah.
That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, so we got a big problem. We got a big problem when you know, if you're teaching something like that, then you can't get mad if your little boy want to go hump on another boy.
Mikha'EL, I don't know if you can hear Kashub. Kashub, the historian, I see you entered some things in the chat. Would you like to add some commentary before I end the recording? You were our guest of honor on this show today, so did you want to add something real quick?
I mean, I was just showing pictures from a book I have showing that different people pictured in the land of Egypt. The Amu, correct me if I'm wrong, those who study maybe a little more than myself, but Amu is the generic term used in the ancient Egyptian for Asiatic. So that would include the Canaanites, that would include the people in the Levant, that would include the Sumerians, the Phoenicians, the Israelites, the Edomites, because you read about the Edomites in the Papyrus Anastasia. You understand? You read about the people of Canaan in the Merneptah Stela. So I was just showing a couple of pictures I got. That's all. It wasn't really, because I saw other people put pictures, so I just wanted to sit there and just throw a couple of up there. Also, Brother Khansu, if you're still on here, or if you hear this later, I apologize if I seemed as if I was coming aggressive as a brother to a brother when I said about the evolution. When I interrupted, I apologize for that. By saying, yeah, we're talking about it now. I thought about it afterward. I didn't mean to seem boastful or anything of that sort. So on that note, just wanted to say that.
Oh man, Kansu from the hood, he got thick skin. He know you ain't mean nothing. And I'll reiterate what I said. I ain't teaching my kid he came from no damn monkey. I'm letting that be known. Point blank, period. Take it how you want to. Say I'm closed-minded. Nope. I study it. I listen to it. It's illogical. Didn't nobody see this take place? Oh, I forgot it take place over thousands and hundreds of thousands of millions of years. Well, damn, who was there to record this? Oh, the fossils recorded. But how do you record it with the fossils? Carbon dating. Oh, I forgot carbon dating is inaccurate and has already been claim to be very shaky at best. So how in the world does this theory turn out to be something that is more logical, sensible, and makes more sense than somebody creating the species just like you create a child and a dog creates another dog and a cat creates another cat? So with that, I think we should keep this conversation going off air. And let's get it in, baby. It's Hebrews in the Hood, and we can keep it real scholastic at least.
Right, no doubt. That was a great show. Definitely want to thank Kashub, the historian, also known as Moreh Yeshaya. Hebrews in the Hood is Mikha'EL Ben Israel's show. You know him as the founder of Walls of Jericho, Biblical and Historical Studies. Special shout out to Mikha'EL Edwards, who joined us, East of the Great from the UK, Brother Kansu from Team Osiris, and everybody else who participated. Till the next time, we'll be back at you. This was Hebrews in the Hood. Shalom.